Thank you, Ken. All right, so as voters in 14 different states head to the polls this morning, we wanted to sit down with Ben Gaskins. He's an assistant professor of political science at Lewis and Clark with a little more what to watch today. So, Ben, we saw all the headlines yesterday with Senator Amy Klobuchar dropping out, with former Mayor Pete Buttigieg dropping out, both endorsing Biden. It kind of appears now to be a Biden versus Bernie scenario. Has it narrowed down that far just yet?
It really seems to be the case. I think Elizabeth Warren and all the polls coming out more recently is really dropping down to the point where she's not going to be viable in a lot of different states. Same with Michael Bloomberg, that they're going to struggle to get that 15% in order to pick up any delegates at all. And meanwhile, we see Joe Biden really moving forward in the polls in states like Virginia, where he is a clear front runner there, and moving up even in states like California. So I think what we really have to pay attention to is that viability threshold. If Warren and Bloomberg in like California, for instance, hit 15%, they will take a lot of delegates for themselves that would otherwise be more likely to go to Biden and especially to Bernie Sanders.
Right, that would maybe make that more of a two-person race. I know Texas and California are real big states today as voters head to the polls. Do the endorsements that the former vice president got yesterday propel him into those states, give him enough of a push to be more of a competition there?
Well, I think it really signals to the voters that if you are not a supporter of Bernie Sanders and you're looking for a more moderate alternative, that Biden is the choice to rally behind. And with Beto O'Rourke spending time with Biden yesterday in Texas, I think that will do a lot to really propel him, if not to beat Bernie Sanders, but to rack up a large number of delegates so he doesn't fall too far behind. And at this point, Biden really wants to stay neck and neck with Bernie Sanders on the idea that he will be able to do even better in future states and come out ahead.
I want to talk a little bit more about Senator Elizabeth Warren, her home state of Massachusetts, one of the states voting today. She has said she does not plan to drop out of this race, that potentially a contested primary here as you move towards all of the delegates. So is there a path ahead for her if she cannot pull out a win here on Super Tuesday?
There's no path, I think, to getting a majority of the delegates before the DNC. I think you're right. The only way that she has a chance at getting the nomination is if it is a contested convention and she is the so-called unity candidate. And she gets a lot of support from a lot of the different factions of the Democratic Party. And I think she's trying to remain viable and stay in the race because she wants to be an option further down the line. But I think that, in terms of actually winning the nomination outright, there's no real path for her. That Bernie Sanders has precluded one side and Biden has precluded the other side. So it's unclear what else she's trying to get out of this other than trying to make it to the convention.
Yeah, I think we'll watch and see what happens with her campaign throughout the course of this week. Also want to talk about former Mayor Mike Bloomberg. He is still in the race. This is really his first test. He's spent, over $500 million now in campaign advertising across the country, but he has not been on the ballot until now.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a really interesting thing to see how well Bloomberg does in states like California and some of the more red states that are going today. Those are the states where Bloomberg has traditionally been polling really well and has been pulling votes from Joe Biden. But now that we see the Democratic leadership really rally behind Joe Biden, it wouldn't surprise me to see Bloomberg really lose some of that support as Biden is elevated as the viable alternative to Bernie Sanders. And so I will have to really keep a watch on, does Bloomberg retain some of his polling support, or does that bleed away towards Joe Biden?
Yeah, and now real quickly, I know Oregon and Washington not voting today on Super Tuesday. Washington coming up next week, and then Oregon votes in May. Are either state going to start seeing more attention from candidates as they get a little closer?
Oh, I think that is undoubted, that Bernie Sanders is really going to focus on the Northwest. He has a lot of support there. And now Biden's been out here once or twice, but I think he'll probably have to start giving some attention too, because it's going to go on probably at least till May at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where this race will go. Ben, thanks. We appreciate your insight. But of course, we got to get through Super Tuesday first. So a reminder, CBS News planning special coverage tonight that will affect newscasts on our sister station. We are still going to have all your local news and weather at 4 p.m. on KOIN 6, but from 5 to 9, Nora O'Donnell will host coverage with correspondents, bringing you the latest results from across the 14 Super Tuesday states voting today. During that time, you can find all your local news updates on KOIN.com. Then you can join us for a special edition of KOIN 6 News at 9 o'clock before the news at 10 here on Portland CW.